This video shows the proper use of the AMSCO 600 26-inch by 26-inch medium steam sterilizer. STERIS recommends following your facility's policies and/or AMI ST79 regarding operation of your sterilizer. Please refer to the operator manual for complete use details. If you are unclear about anything contained in the manual or this video, contact your STERIS account manager for clarification. The AMSCO 600 series sterilizers include several important safety features. Be sure to read all the safety warnings and cautions detailed in the safety precautions, sterilization operation, and routine maintenance sections of your AMSCO 600 operator manual. This video will help you learn about the proper use and maintenance of your sterilizer. During this video, you will learn the basics of steam sterilization, components of the sterilizer, cycle types, identifying devices to process in the sterilizer, preparing a load, operating the sterilizer, performing routine care and maintenance. Steam sterilization is the most productive, cost-effective, and dependable sterilization method available for reprocessing surgical instrumentation. Only heat and moisture-stable items should be sterilized using steam. Please refer to Instrument Manufacturer Indications for Use, IFUs, on sterilization before processing instruments. Proper cleaning, packaging, and loading of instruments is vital to achieve optimal sterilization results because steam sterilization relies on steam contact of all instrument surfaces. The sterilization process includes these steps: manually or mechanically cleaning instruments to remove visible soils, thoroughly drying instruments, organizing instrument trays, adding chemical indicators to sets for sterility assurance monitoring, packaging instruments and instrument sets, labeling and documenting packages, including load control sterility assurance monitoring indicators, properly loading the sterilizer. It is also important to always wear personal protective equipment when operating the steam sterilizer. For additional information on sterilization standards and practices, STERIS Corporation recommends that you review the guidelines published by industry associations such as AMI, AORN, and ISHM. Before you begin operation, it's important to become familiar with the major components and controls and the cycle types your sterilizer is configured to run. Operators typically interact with the sterilizer: chamber and door, steam and water supply valves, touchscreen display, pressure gauges, printer, USB port, and emergency stop button. The sterilizer features a square chamber and automated vertical door. The 39-inch chamber holds up to 9 25-pound wrapped instrument trays. The 51-inch chamber holds up to 12 wrapped instrument trays, and the 63-inch chamber holds up to 15 wrapped instrument trays. Open and close the door by pressing the door button located on the upper right-hand corner of the touchscreen display. A touch-sensitive safety sensor prevents doors from closing in case of obstruction and reverses to the open position. A control lockout switch prevents a cycle from starting if the door is not fully closed. An additional seal pressure switch prevents inadvertent cycle initiation if the door is not sealed. As long as the door seal is intact and energized, and there is more than 2 psi pressure in the chamber, the door cannot be opened. For double door units, each door is independently operated. The doors are interlocked, meaning only one door can be open at a time. This limits the possibility of air exchange between the clean and sterile sides of the sterilizer. The sterilizer plumbing and electrical systems may be accessed from the front of the machine. Compression latches may be unlocked using the key provided with the sterilizer. The steam and water valves are located in the manifolds above and below the chamber. Each of these valves should be in the open position before you operate the sterilizer. The control power switch shuts off power to the sterilizer. During normal operation, the switch is always left in the on position. The control panel uses symbols to keep operations simple. A complete list of control panel symbols, touchscreen display buttons, and their functions can be found in your AMSCO 600 Steam Sterilizer Operator Manual. Control panel and touchscreen displays are multilingual. On-screen text defaults to English, but may be set to other languages. Analog pressure gauges provide visibility of the chamber and jacket pressures from the front of the sterilizer. On double-door sterilizers, an additional chamber pressure gauge is located on the unload side. The analog chamber pressure gauge is redundant to electronic chamber pressure sensors. Electronic pressure and temperature readings are accessible through the machine status button. The thermal printer provides for quiet operation and features easy-to-load steam-resistant paper. A detailed description for loading printer paper is provided later in this video. The sterilizer includes a USB port located below the printer. Up to the last 300 cycles are stored in the sterilizer's internal memory, after which the cycles are overwritten. The sterilizer display indicates when the storage limit is near its limit. Stored cycles can be downloaded to a USB drive for digital record keeping. Consult the operator manual for details. If desired, USB ports can be disabled by adding an optional permanent plug, which, if used, cannot be removed. If the plug is installed, replacement of the entire USB port will be necessary if desired for future use. The emergency stop switch is a safety feature designed to shut the sterilizer down completely in an emergency. Pressing the emergency stop switch disconnects power to the door and valves, causing the door to stop and all valves to return to their off state. The emergency stop switch should be pressed only in an emergency, such as if the door sensor fails to stop the door when an obstruction is present, or if steam enters the chamber while the door is open. You'll need to perform a few preliminary steps before processing each day. First, shut off the steam supply before removing the drain strainer. Use appropriate PPE, as the door and chamber walls may be hot. Remove obvious debris from the strainer and use a brush, wire, or similar tool to remove any remaining accumulation. Once the strainer has been cleared, position it upside down and under running tap water. Replace strainer in chamber drain. Also, make sure the chamber interior is clean and free of debris. Then, close the chamber door. Next, check to see if there is enough paper in the printer for cycle documentation. If pre-vacuum cycles are being used, you will also need to run a Bowie-Dick air removal test before processing a load. If the sterilizer is not already up to operating temperature, a warm-up cycle should be run first. We'll review this procedure later in the video. A loading car and transfer carriage may be used to place a load into the sterilizer. Each loading car comes standard with one adjustable shelf and a bottom shelf. An optional shelf may be used to maximize throughput. Shelf height may be adjusted without tools. When loading the loading car, place light items on the top rack and heavy items on the bottom. Provide space between and around all items to ensure surface contact. Place basins, cups, and other solid bottom objects tilted, on edge or upside down, so that air and condensation can flow out. Place container systems and wrap trays flat on rack. Place textile packs on edge to enhance air removal. To load the chamber with a loading car and transfer carriage, first open the sterilizer door. Align the top of the loading car with the chamber using the white arrow located above the door. Maintain a line of sight with the chamber opening and roll the transfer carriage forward until the latch properly connects with the chamber. Turn the transfer carriage lever to the right until properly engaged to lock it to the sterilizer. Turning the transfer carriage lever to the right unlocks the loading car from the transfer carriage and locks the transfer carriage onto the sterilizer chamber for loading. After locking, pull back on the handle to verify that the transfer carriage is securely attached. Failure to do so may result in the loading car sliding off the transfer carriage and falling to the floor. Lock the rear wheels and manually push the loading car into the sterilizer. Turn the transfer carriage lever to the left to disengage the transfer carriage from the chamber. Pull the transfer carriage away from the sterilizer chamber and close the door. The 26 by 26 by 39-inch chamber size may also be used with a rack and shelves instead of a loading car and transfer carriage. The removable rack is provided with 2 height-adjustable removable shelves. An additional optional shelf may be used to maximize throughput. A stop on the shelf prevents it from completely sliding out of the sterilizer. To start a cycle, simply select the desired cycle from the Select Cycle screen. Screen background colors change as the cycle progresses from green in the conditioning phase to blue in the sterilization phase, and finally to lavender in the exhaust phase. A cycle only needs to be aborted if an abnormal condition or a control problem develops during the cycle. Pressing abort causes the sterilizer chamber to depressurize if pressurized, or air brake if in vacuum. The door seal deactivates. The control prompts the operator to open the door, and the sterilizer returns to its normal out-of-cycle state. If an abnormal condition persists after fully aborting the cycle, contact your supervisor or a qualified service technician before trying to operate the sterilizer further. When unloading the loading car or rack and shelves, be sure you use personal protective equipment, PPE, pot holders, or oven mitts. To avoid creating condensation, never place a hot sterilized tray on a solid shelf or cold surface. Once the tray has cooled, it can be placed on a wire shelf. If the cycle parameters fall within the specified range, the control will indicate Cycle Pass. When the Cycle Complete alarm sounds, open the sterilizer door using the Door Open Close button on the touchscreen. After any residual vapor and heat has escaped from the chamber, carefully remove the loaded cart from the chamber. Make sure you're wearing your personal protective equipment. Move carriage forward while keeping front of transfer carriage aligned with rails in the sterilizer chamber. Rotate the latch and release lever clockwise from left to right to lock transfer carriage in position. Pull back on the transfer carriage handles to ensure carriage is properly locked. Engage the foot-activated brake on each rear wheel of transfer carriage to prevent unintentional movement of the carriage. Wearing heat-resistant gloves and PPE, carefully pull loading car from chamber onto transfer carriage. Rotate latch and release lever counterclockwise, right to left, to secure loading car to transfer carriage. The latch and release lever secures the loading car to the transfer carriage while simultaneously unlocking and releasing the transfer carriage from the sterilizer chamber rails. Carefully back the transfer carriage away from the sterilizer. Close chamber door. Transfer the load from sterilizer area. Sterility assurance is a key part of successful sterilization. For pack and load control, STERIS recommends that you use a chemical indicator inside every pack. You should also include a process challenge device with the load at least once a week, but preferably with every load. Place the challenge pack on the bottom shelf of the loading car, directly over the drain, and close the chamber door. Now you're ready to run a cycle. If the sterilizer is in standby mode, press anywhere on the screen to bring up the control display. Cycles are started from the Select Cycle screen. Each sterilizer is pre-programmed with 2 standard sterilizer cycle types, pre-vacuum and gravity. A warm-up cycle, Bowie-Dick air removal, and leak test cycle are also provided. These cycle types and recommended loads for processing are described in more detail in the AMSCO 600 Operator Manual. Refer to Table 1, AMSCO 600 Steam Sterilizer Factory Validated Sterilization Cycles. Pre-programmed cycles comply with all relevant healthcare standards. However, cycle temperatures, sterilization times, and dry times can be modified to meet specific instrument manufacturer reprocessing instructions. Sterilization times can be adjusted to a maximum of 90 minutes, and dry times range from 0 to 120 minutes. However, neither time nor temperature can be adjusted below the minimum values recommended by healthcare standards. If cycle parameters, sterilized time, dry time, temperature, other than the factory set values are required. It is the responsibility of the healthcare facility to consult and follow the device manufacturer's written instructions for processing. Cycle and sterilizer setup changes should be initiated only by a supervisor or qualified service technician. To adjust the sterilizer's operation, press the Options button on the Select Cycle screen. Select the Supervisor button on the Options page. Enter the supervisor password and select the Cycle Setup button. Press the cycle button number you want to change. Then select the Change Cycle Values button. Choose the cycle parameter you want to change. Press the cycle button number you want to change. For example, to enter a customized cycle name, choose the Cycle Name button on the cycle parameters screen and use the keypad to type in the desired name. To change the sterilized temperature value for a pre-vac cycle, enter the desired temperature into the keypad ranging from 270 to 274 degrees Fahrenheit. Press the OK button to accept the new value, or press the Exit button to keep the factory set cycle value and return to the cycle parameters screen. To adjust the sterilized time for a 270 degree Fahrenheit pre-vac cycle, enter the new value ranging from 4 minutes to 90 minutes. A 275 degree Fahrenheit pre-vac cycle is adjustable from 3 minutes to 90 minutes. To change the dry time, enter the new value using the same range of 0 to 120 minutes. Press the Exit Screen button until you are back to the Select Cycle screen. If you experience a power failure, you won't have to reprogram cycles. The sterilizer controls store all of your preferences and customized cycles. You can also choose which cycles are displayed on the main display. From the Select Cycle screen, choose Options, then press the Supervisor button. From the Supervisor screen, select Cycle Setup, and from Cycle Setup, select the applicable option: Add Cycles, Delete Cycles, or set all cycles to default. Press the Exit Screen button to return to the Select Cycle screen. You can also change other machine setup options, such as date and time. From the Machine Setup screen, press the Set Date and Time button. From this screen, you can set the date and time and determine how they appear on screen. The time may be set to a 12-hour AM/PM format or 24-hour military format. The current format is displayed at the top of the Time Format button. To change it, press the button to toggle between formats. To change the time, press the Set Time button and use the keypad to enter the new time: hours first, then minutes, then seconds. Once you've input the correct time, press OK, then press the Exit Screen button to go back to the Change Time and Date screen. The date can be displayed in one of 3 formats: day, month, year, month, day, year, or year, month, day. Again, the Date Format button displays the current format. Press this button to toggle through the options until the preferred format is displayed. Finally, to change the date, press Set Date and use the keypad to enter a day value between 1 and 31. Press OK to accept the change. Then press the Exit Screen button to go back to the Change Time and Date screen. Repeat these steps to change the month and year. Once you have made all your changes, press the Exit Screen button to go back to the Options screen. Various reminders can also be set to help ensure testing and record-keeping compliance. From the Select Cycle screen, choose Options, then Supervisor, and then press the Set Reminders button. Choose to enable daily Bowie-Dick test reminders and weekly leak test reminders by simply toggling from Disabled to Enabled. You can also set a warning for the 300 cycle log limit by toggling from No to Yes. Then press the Exit button until you return to the Select Cycle screen. The Auto Utility Controls program can be used to program the sterilizer to automatically shut off the steam and water at the end of the day. Shutdown and power up times can be programmed for any time of the day. To set up this function, press the Machine Setup button on the Options screen. Press the Utility Control button. select manual or automatic. If automatic is selected, you can program the restart and shutdown times for each day of the week. Choose the day, then press Restart. Use the keypad to enter the new restart time and press OK. Repeat for setting up the shutdown time. To see a summary of startup and shutdown times, use the arrow key in the lower left-hand corner to back up to the summary screen. To keep your AMSCO 600 steam sterilizer performing properly, it's important to clean and maintain it regularly. A complete maintenance schedule can be found in Section 6 of your AMSCO 600 Operator Manual. Where indicated, some maintenance activities should be performed by a qualified service technician. Remember to let the sterilizer cool down before you perform any maintenance. Let's review the maintenance activities that you'll need to perform on a daily, weekly, or as-needed basis. At least once a day, the chamber drain strainer must be cleaned, preferably in the morning before the first cycle. Remember to shut off the steam supply before removing the strainer. Wear appropriate PPE and perform the cleaning procedure as previously described in this video. To check for proper operation of the sterilizer's vacuum system, you'll run a Bowie-Dick test. The Bowie-Dick test indicates if air has been effectively removed from the chamber and challenge pack. This test should be run daily before processing any loads using a pre-vacuum cycle. To ensure valid test results, always run a warm-up cycle before performing a Bowie-Dick test to allow the machine to achieve proper operating temperature. It's important to note that the Bowie-Dick test is not a test for effective sterilization. To initiate a warm-up cycle, press the right arrow on the Select Cycle screen until the Test Cycle screen appears. Press the Warm-Up Cycle button. Immediately after the warm-up cycle, place the Bowie-Dick test pack on the lowest rack of the sterilizer loading cart and load the cart into the chamber. Make sure the test pack is positioned above the chamber drain. Press the Bowie-Dick test button to begin the cycle. All test cycle values are pre-programmed and cannot be adjusted. The sterilizer temperature will reach 270 degrees Fahrenheit. After 3.5 minutes of sterilized time and 1 minute of dry time, the test cycle is complete. Open the chamber door at the conclusion of the cycle, and wearing your personal protective equipment, carefully remove the Bowie-Dick test pack. Examine and evaluate the test pack according to manufacturer instructions. Check for any indication that residual air may have remained in the pack during the sterilization cycle. The entire cycle is also documented on the test cycle printout. Report result failures to your supervisor. Do not run the sterilizer with pre-vacuum cycles until approved by your supervisor. Gravity cycles may still be used in the event of a Bowie-Dick test failure. The vacuum leak test should be performed at least once a week. It automatically checks for leaks in the piping and door seal. To ensure valid test results, always run a warm-up cycle before performing this test. When the warm-up cycle has completed, initiate the vacuum leak test. From the Test Cycles menu, press the Leak Test button. The sterilizer chamber must be empty while running this test cycle. Vacuum leak test cycle values are pre-programmed and cannot be adjusted. The entire vacuum leak test cycle is also documented on the printout and includes a leak rate value. Record results in a test log to observe trends. A leak rate of up to 1.0 mmHg, millimeters of mercury per minute, is considered acceptable. Leaks greater than this need to be addressed by service or maintenance personnel before the sterilizer can be used. The technician will monitor the air tightness of the system and make repairs or adjustments as needed. It's important to note the vacuum leak test is not a substitute for a Bowie-Dick test. They are complementary tests. The Bowie-Dick checks for air removal, while the leak test checks for leaks in sterilizer plumbing, chamber, and door seal. For details, refer to STERIS document M4154. Understanding the complementary roles of air removal, Bowie-Dick, leak and biological testing in steam sterilization. The overall frequency of interior chamber cleaning is variable and will depend on the number of cycles run, local water and steam quality, and types of loads processed. The chamber interior should be cleaned as frequently as necessary to maintain its original appearance. Follow the detailed instructions in STERIS document number M2826. To clean exterior stainless steel panel surfaces, STERIS recommends using stainless steel cleaner. STERIS product number NM410. Refer to Safety Data Sheet SDS A301 for detailed product information. Follow label instructions, paying special attention to warnings and cautions. Wear protective gloves, safety goggles, and ensure adequate ventilation. Close the sterilizer door and use a soft lint cloth to apply cleaner in the same direction as the surface door. Clean the touchscreen when needed, at a time when the machine is off and the touchscreen is cool. Using water with mild detergent or screen cleaning agent, dampen a clean cloth. Gently wipe screen and dry with a clean, lint-free cloth. Do not spray fluid directly on screen. The printer paper roll should be checked every day. When you see a colored stripe on one or both edges of the printer paper, it's time to install a new roll. Consult the operator manual for the paper part number. Open the thermal printer front cover and lift the inner cover. Position paper roll in bottom of printer compartment, with paper coming from bottom of roll. Ensure at least 8 inches of paper extends from printer compartment. Close the inner cover. Remove take-up spool from printer and carefully pull it apart. Place paper between take-up spool halves, then push them together. Tightly wind paper around spool 2 to 3 times. Then place spool back in original position at the top of printer compartment. Close printer cover. In addition to routine maintenance, regularly scheduled preventative maintenance is essential for ensuring peak performance and avoiding unscheduled downtime. Certain preventative maintenance activities must be done by a STERIS service technician or a STERIS-trained service technician in your facility. This concludes the training program for the AMSCO 600 26-inch by 26-inch medium steam sterilizer. For more information about the presentation you've just seen, or to order supplies or accessories, visit steris.com or contact your STERIS account representative.